Rewind the dynamite from the post-wrestling site. AEW, lighting up the fuse. Sit back and enjoy the bubbly. As we hear from John and Wai Ting. Where we're going, we don't need roads. And if the buck stops here, this thing might blow. Everything you hear are opinions of the show. And if you don't like it, go to the forums and let them know.
It is John Pollock and Wai Ting, warmed up after 40 minutes of news. Another great quarter, a great year for TKO, a cool 4.7 billion of your dollars that they took in as they just hammed it up for an hour on their conference call, celebrating their engagement, their revenues, and huge news coming out of TKO headquarters today.
As such, going forward, we'll be referring to these site fees more broadly as financial incentive packages, or as we like to call them, FIPs.
Do you think they all sit down? Like, do they workshop these terms like site fees? It sounds so gross.
I don't necessarily think it's a they as much as a he. You know, I think it's all coming from the mind of one man.
Is this what he wakes up at 4 a.m. and writes down in his like notepad of FIPs? FIPs.
Think of all the time you save by just simply saying and typing FIP instead of whatever you did before.
Could you imagine like condensing all of your words? Like imagine if I said, hey, next Wednesday, want to grab some sushi?
How about making an entire paragraph an acronym? IATWY. That's where we're headed, you know. It's just about maximum efficiency with this man.
Yes. These are all things we can look forward to from the Antonio Inoki AI robot coming that will condense our time to the most efficiency possible. That's the world we're moving towards. Check out the news. All Post Wrestling Cafe members get our wonderful award-winning news rundowns. Tonight we are talking about Dynamite from the Mission Ballroom in Denver, Colorado, where tonight's mission was, if you choose to accept it, a mile-high madness, anything goes, 10-man destruction to cap off this show. And then the really Mission Impossible was the 2-hour show that had to follow that 10-man. Because they had a collision taping after. Yeah. Can you imagine following that? At what point is the vacuum cleaner coming out and crop dusting the entire venue that you're thinking, oh my God, I'm up like in an hour and a half from now?
Yeah, I feel really sorry for like, I don't know.
The Sisters of Sin.
Yeah, who has to follow this, unfortunately. Somebody's got to do it.
Well, they had a sellout of 2,500 people, according to WrestleTix. So not a gigantic venue, but they did fill it. That's the same amount they drew for Dynamite here in this same location last June. And we've got Excalibur, Tony Schiavone, and Nigel McGuinness on the call. Babes of Wrath cut a promo, followed by Mega Bad, who would have quite the night, alongside Lena Cross, who was with them. The Young Bucks, we have a video reacting to the attack on poor Malachi. Malachi Buck. Not to be confused with the other Malachi. And
Malachi Jackson is what he's called.
Does he get a gimmick name? Like, I guess
they
so.
called him that. They called him Malachi Jackson.
Okay, well,
what do you want to call him? Malachi Massey?
Sure, yeah. I hope that this guy gets a Canadian Destroyer spot at Revolution. I think that's what this is coming back for. Or he gets to throw Cash Wheeler into a Tope Suicida through like a guardrail.
I think he should just come back as Malachi Jack and just completely adopt like Malachi Black's entrance.
Oh, and his promos.
Yeah.
Hello, Dax. It is me, the third and forgotten Buck.
Please. If only just so we could get that.
Yes. How about if we get Malachi Buck as a character, I will impose my Alistair voice, even if the guy sounds nothing like him. Okay? That'll be my promise.
Amazing.
So, yeah. FTR bringing up a great point that they struck first by super kicking Stoke. This was just revenge. So, fair enough.
Okay. All right.
They attacked a handicapped individual. So, that's what happens. John Moxley and El Clone kick off the show with Renee previewing it from ringside and gets a ringside interview with the matriarch, Marina, about the pre-match slap, something that was maybe handed down from AI Inoki. Clone chokes him with the tag rope, and then he did these very impressive like kicks. Well, he does one off the barricade right into a moonsault. Later did like a one-legged springboard to the floor. He gets caught with a forearm by Moxley from the floor. They pass the 10-minute mark, and then Moxley lands a pile driver, and this is when Clone hits the springboard moonsault off the middle rope to the floor, and then gets caught with a cutter in the ring. Didn't get all of it, which the announcers acknowledged, but he's down. He tries to go for the handstand to avoid the stomp. It wasn't as smooth of an evasion, but takes the Death Rider and the paradigm shift and gets pinned in 16 minutes and 15 seconds of this Eliminator bout.
I thought it was a pretty fun match. You know, like the combination of styles, it wasn't really obvious on paper, but I thought it worked decently well here, you know, despite like Clone having a more fan-friendly high-flying style. I thought it still worked, having him be the heel in this match. And I think like most of these, what you would consider mismatches, they achieved their job of showcasing the person on the losing end here, with Clone getting some pretty good highlight reel moments here, especially with that moonsault out of the corner. I wouldn't necessarily consider it like close to near either man's best, you know, like when they're paired with people that might be more suited to like how they wrestle. But I thought it was like a worthwhile change up for a John Moxley Eliminator match on TV.
It does feel like, I don't know how much of the audience would have expected any kind of upset, but in the moment, it does feel like this audience, like they buy into these Moxley matches, whether they're Eliminator bouts or just, I really feel like that Kyle O'Reilly program paid a lot of dividends for Moxley, that this guy is susceptible and you can buy him against anyone in these scenarios, that it's not just considered this foregone conclusion, because they went 16 minutes and they had the crowd for most of this opener.
I think it's also like these are the types of crowds that just appreciate high quality wrestling if they presented it, and that's enough to carry people over, I think.
There's a recap of Swerve's win over Kenny Omega, and Prince Nana shows up, and it is heel Nana. And he mentioned Swerve being fined $100,000 and said he had to stay away for a week. So I'm guessing he was suspended for collision?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't really make that clear. Like
he was like, do you think he cares about $100,000 fine and missing a week? I was like, okay.
Like, you missed collision.
He got Saturday off and he's back.
Yeah.
So, okay.
He really should have missed this week. But
it's like, yeah. I mean, there's some guys on this roster that have had way worse than you. I mean, he calls the announcers stupid fools and introduces the most dangerous man in AEW. So this is going to be the guy's whole moniker now based off that one line. He comes out and Swerve asks if the sickos missed him. And many of them cheered that line, but then they all got behind. They were chanting for Kenny. Swerve feels no guilt because he warned Kenny for getting in his way in his path toward the title and for calling somebody else the most dangerous man in AEW. Now I'm back in line for a title shot. I've taken down all of the elite, and I no longer regret my past actions like I had told Hangman last summer, because when I committed those actions, I was at the highest point of my career. And he's putting the whole roster on notice that anyone that crosses him, he will put them down too. A great promo here from Swerve, and by just the way that they were pointing out the whole most dangerous man, I thought 100% they've got to go towards this Brody King thing, and they didn't even make it subtle because they made it very clear this is obviously going to be the Revolution match. So I really like that direction. I don't know if it's a pivot because Kenny was not available, but if so, it's a hell of a pivot, and it makes a ton of sense for these two to have that match off of one throwaway line that was used.
They built to it pretty decently, and I'm sure like by the time Kenny said it, they probably already had this in place. But I question it, because who do you have win and lose? Both men, you can argue, should not be losing. Brody King
I think Swerve has to win this match, because I could see Swerve wins this, and then you could do him and Kenny in Vancouver the next month.
Brody losing in LA?
I know, but
like a guy that
someone's got to lose.
A guy that like a lot of us were talking about as potentially entering that main event and maybe even winning the title on this show. I wouldn't have him lose, certainly not, unless of course there are always ways to protect people coming out of matches, right? But I don't know, that particular show, that crowd with Brody King, I wouldn't do it. And so this, I kind of question, this matchmaking. Again, it should be a great match, but I don't know who you have win.
Well, Brody, they immediately cut to Brody, who is with Bandito, and addresses Swerve, stating, "I am next in line for a title shot, not Swerve." So that becomes interesting too. If like this is somehow like an eliminator match for whoever wins gets a title shot out of this.
Yeah, which you would assume MJ. Yeah, it could be MJF or Page. Like, obviously, if MJF wins, Brody. But if Page wins, Page and Swerve.
Orange Cassidy takes on Gabe Kidd. There are all these posters handed out, missing signs for Roderick Strong with the reward of a $15 gift card for any information on Roderick Strong. Renee should have cashed in for this gift card because she just did a sit-down with him today. They just put it on YouTube. So she knows. Maybe it was done in a undisclosed location. They started doing the bald chants. Gabe Kidd wanted none of this, and they quickly ended. We have a stun dog delivered to Kidd, and then he lands the satellite DDT. This is after Orange is selling for the first half of the match. Kidd hits a rebound lariat, survives the beach break, and then Kidd uses Bryce Remsburg to block the Orange punch and gouges Orange in the eyes and hits the drill-a-hole pile driver, winning in 10 minutes and 13 seconds. That prompts Clark Connors out, which leads to Darby Allin showing up with the skateboard, code red to Connors. An Orange punch is delivered to Kidd, and then Darby ends with a stomp using the skateboard onto the back of Kidd. So I guess the only question that comes out of this, if you're just going to the straight up singles match, or if they're going to do a tag between these four.
You could, but it seems like Orange Cassidy is so tied up with like this whole Roderick Strong thing that maybe that feels like more of a destination. But yeah, for television, sure, why not? I think Kidd and Connors, but like Kidd, is doing really well, thus far in AEW. He's showcasing a lot of personality and charisma in the body of his matches. So to me, he stands out more than just like a wrestler. He's somebody who is immediately attractive, just in a way beyond just the wrestling moves, in my opinion. So, you expect something for Revolution? Probably, right? Darby and
Darby and Kidd's been the direction. I just don't know if they're going to do some kind of tag with all four of these. But yeah, for sure, something of probably. I imagine next week we'll get most of this card finalized. They announced Tekla defending the women's title next Wednesday in El Paso, Texas, and Renee is with Thunder Rosa. It's Tekla and Thunder Rosa next Wednesday. So Thunder Rosa is with Chris Statlander. Statlander is going to be cleared for Collision this Saturday, meaning in real time she's cleared now, but in the AEW time warp, she will not be cleared. They have a crystal ball. They know when she will be cleared. They've got to send the AEW doctor to assess the vision. That would help a lot of their planning. If they could know when these people are going to be cleared. And Thunder Rosa is warned to be careful with Tekla, and she won't answer Renee when Renee asks why she's so worried about Thunder Rosa taking this match. So I think Thunder Rosa is going to die next Wednesday. I think that's the expectation.
Yeah. I mean, this is Statlander being very mysterious. And so all she said was be careful. And we don't necessarily know if it means, be careful of Tekla or be careful of something else, possibly Chris Statlander. So we'll see. We'll see what Chris Statlander is actually thinking here. But I thought Thunder Rosa cut a hell of a promo here. She was full of fire, sounded awesome, looked great here. So I'm glad to see her back in the mix. I mean, I thought she'd be a lot more forgotten than I think she currently feels right now. But I feel like even if we don't expect her to win next week, I feel like the challenge has already done a good job of giving her this impactful return. And again, like Chris Statlander heel turn is possible here, with Rosa and Statlander being the actual destination coming out of it all.
We had a standby match. A standby match, in case there's maybe like an injury, you would want to have a standby match ready, unless you put the standby match on early, which was the case here. So it is Kevin Knight and Mansoor. I think Mansoor is a really fun character. He misses he did the spot where he was sent to the stage, and he runs in and trips. And he just went right back into his offense after this. So I didn't know if this was a planned trip or he just played off of it. But nonetheless, missed a top rope moonsault. Knight hits the leaping Rana, jumping DDT, and UFO splash for the very quick win in 2 minutes, 52 seconds. He calls himself Mr. Two Fly, which, funny enough, also my nickname when I was in high school. And he says that Page will wipe the floor with MJF. He also revealed like MJF's stipulation here. Did you catch this?
What did he say? Exactly?
He called it a one-way no disqualification match. And I was like, what the hell is a one-way no disqualification match? And unless this had already been thrown out there beforehand. But he did mention that here before MJF revealed it. Anyway, he says
I missed that.
After Hangman wins the title, he wants to be the first challenger. So the booking is just, we are all focused on the AEW world title, and you have all these different challengers, and I think it's great. I think it's a really compelling main event scene, and now they're creating like tiers of, you've got the ex-champions, the top tier guys, and then you've got like the guys that are on the ascent, your Brody Kings and Kevin Knights, and like you can add Kyle Fletcher and such to that mix as well, Takeshita. I just think it's paying dividends for AEW. Like, I think this is starting to translate to, the like actual success that AEW is having, and you have to look at this main event scene.
It all builds to compelling television matches, and in the process, again, even if you don't necessarily buy the guy winning, hearing their passion and hearing their direction and their motivation for competing in these matches makes you hopefully like them a little bit more and gives you a reason to watch their matches and pay attention to their matches and follow their stories. So I thought Knight did a great job here. You know, I think he continues to show that, his future is not just as a tag team wrestler or even as a cruiserweight. I mean, I think he's showing real potential as a breakout singles, title challenger for his future. So I thought this was a really nice showcase for him.
Do you think that Speedball cutting this promo, referring to himself as Mr. Two Fly, how would that have gone?
I don't know. I mean, incredible performer, but that is his biggest drawback and why he's not getting these sort of opportunities to talk.
Yeah, Speedball is he's got the short end of the stick in this trio.
Yeah, I mean, in ring, you can argue he's the best of the three. I might even make that argument, more than Page. But the promo is a big thing.
Shivani brings out MJF and Hangman Page for the segment to finalize the stipulation. MJF informs Hangman Page, "You are not an historian because you would be the second man that I made sure could never challenge for the AEW title again," with our nod to the Jericho Cody match and MJF's involvement.
Where he threw the towel in to end the match.
That's right. He insults the Denver crowd, stating, "If you smoke dope, you'll go broke. I prefer there's no hope with dope."
It's a good one, too.
That was a good episode. Then he says, "Wait a second, I got to toss my gum into the garbage." And he took his gum and he just threw it at some fan in the front row. Like, I would sue 100%.
Who probably kept it. Come on, let's be honest.
Probably. Guy probably chewed it and digested it. So we're going to flip a coin. Tails for Texas Death. Heads for a one-way no disqualification match. Now, at this point, you brought this up. If I'm Hangman Page, it's like, wait. I earned this title shot. So at baseline, I've got a title shot against you. I'm also putting up the heaviest stakes here where I can never challenge again. You don't get to call anything at this point. Like, that would be my argument at this. Like, the logic of this. If Hangman were to lose this, was he also going to have to abide by this stipulation of never challenging, and you get the advantage of a one-way no DQ? Like, why am I putting this stipulation on? Why am I putting my future title shots on the line here?
Well,
I've already got the title match.
We're learning that Hangman Page is a terrible negotiator.
Horrible.
Yeah, he's just putting way too much on the line. Just blindly accepts anything, without countering. Maybe delivering a counter offer, maybe having an agent look through it. So I wouldn't trust him for your financial advice.
I don't think anyone's being critical about what they ultimately got to, but the way in which they've got here,
I didn't like it.
I didn't either. Like, It was just, it made, like, this should have been MJF has to defend the title, and either like Hangman
Page wants something.
Page wants the
Death.
Texas Death Match. MJF refuses and then says on one condition, and we have a week for Hangman to have to decide. And then he agrees this week, and we get to the same place, but it makes so much more sense than what they went here with.
Simple, clean. I don't know the reason to delay it just for this segment, which ultimately I don't think didn't add anything. Really.
Well, anyway, we get the coin toss. It lands on tail. So MJF wins, and for 30 seconds, it's a one-way, no DQ match, but Hangman wants to see the quarter. And MJF goes to leave. He is stopped by Mike Bailey, Mike Bailey, Brody King. They all come out to stop MJF.
Kevin, like Jet Speed and Brodito, basically.
Right, yes. So they come out. They stop MJF. We learn that it's a trick quarter, and they don't even they don't flip the coin again. Tony Khan just overrides them and says, it's a Texas death match. Everyone cheers, and Hangman cuts a promo saying that MJF's idea was dog shit. And I'm going backwards here. He said that beforehand. But that's the end result. Texas death match. Hangman can't challenge again if he loses for Revolution.
This is a really weird way to confirm this stipulation.
Very.
To drag it out into this, like, what I thought was a pretty corny coin flip segment, with a trick coin. Like, rather than just, again, do it straightforward last week, like we had just kind of discussed, I didn't really like this segment, and I more so didn't like the way they got here. And I feel like they could have used this week, having already confirmed the Texas death match and the stipulation, to build this whole thing that much further with something else. Or you confirm the stipulation this week, like you just suggested, John, like Page throws out the Texas death. This week they confirm you must give up your title shot or for the rest of your AEW career. Like, I think that would have made a more satisfying, 2-week build. This I felt was just really weird.
The Brawling Birds cut a promo. They're here to beat the piss out of people. They swear and they drink. And then we go to the women's tag title match.
And their new catchphrase is, "We don't give a flying fuck."
We don't know if that's what they said. It was censored.
Oh, flying something, I guess.
Yeah.
Because they're birds, right?
Yeah. I got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. Babes of Wrath against Megabad for the women's tag titles. So this match turned into a disaster. So Bane hits a suicide dive onto both women, and Penelope Ford climbs to the top and goes for an Orihara moonsault to the floor. And this was the Charlotte Flair special, where she did the moonsault, and it was a backflip where she just sticks the landing, no one catches her, and she makes barely any contact. And then, so they've got the advantage on Harley. And Penelope, after the moonsault, she does get into the ring, and she just tags out, and that's the last we see of her in this match. She just vanishes because Megan works the whole rest of this match until, out of nowhere, Lena Cross just blatantly runs into the ring, automatic DQ at 8:16. The crowd is chanting bullshit. The belt gets placed on Megan Bayne, and we never see Penelope Ford again. I mean, they showed way more attention to Bronson Reed the other night than they did Penelope Ford. So I did get this message from a listener that was at the show, just stating that Penelope hurt her ankle on that moonsault, and the ringside doctor was with her the whole time. She was very frustrated looking. So likely an injury. How severe, we're not sure, but it did sound like they just had to, call an audible here, and it was not a great one. Like, it was pretty unsatisfying. This just person walks in and just right in front of the ref attacks, and we go to a DQ, and it just seemed like there was, to contrast way to like Jey Uso and El Grande kind of having to just pick up the pieces on Monday. This just felt like, let's just get out of this, and that's what they did, and they just kind of pulled the cord and ended the match.
Yeah, I mean, in these situations, it makes you wonder what the initial finish was supposed to be. Could there have been a title change for this one? Could that have been possible? I think at least it was possible. We had discussed it, like Willow being a double champion, losing one of these titles to a team like Megabad. I don't think
who
that
they
was
had
out of
just
the question.
beaten too in Australia. So
You're right. So
what's the
man,
purpose of just beating them a second time like that? I didn't even know really the impetus to redo this match. Like the title change would make the most sense, but I don't know.
But think about the double heartbreak for somebody like Penelope Ford to come back from injury, like battling it that arm injury as long as she had, only for like to finally build some momentum again, possibly even winning a title match, and having this happen. Oh man, you just I think this hurts even more than the Bronson Reed one. Like I would think. I mean, they both suck. Wrestling injuries are just there's never great timing for them, but especially for somebody like Penelope Ford, this you just have to feel for her.
Yeah.
And
some of them are freak ones, and this one it's like not to say like predictable, but like you watch some of these moonsaults, and we see it with Hangman, we see it with Charlotte Flair. Like when you're doing like that flip and you're just coming down and planting your feet, like man, there is going to be like those times when it's like, man,
but 99 times out of 100, it's fine, right? Wow. And it's like the other freak things, like jumping off of a ramp onto the floor that'll like take Adam Cole out for like a year. So it's really hard to say. Like this shit will just happen. You feel for her because she's battling so much injury, and I think she's already struggling to find a foothold on this roster. So I mean, to me, the obvious pivot now is Lena Cross and Megan Bayne. How they explain this might be another one. Nigel did offer that Lena Cross saw Penelope Ford injured, and so she decided to come in to like get the match DQ'd. I don't know how that makes sense either.
There was no explaining this. Like you cost your partner to the titles. It made no sense, and I'm not going to hold the announcers.
They'll have to explain their way out of it. But could they still like I don't know, like could the new Mega Babes Mega Bad. Could the new version of Mega Bad be Lena Cross and Megan Bayne, and could they win the tag titles? I mean, I guess that's still on the table. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's an easy pivot if that's what they want to go with. Like certainly, like Lena Cross would inherit that spot if Penelope's going to be out for any significant amount of time. We go right to Brody King and Mark Davis. And so at the beginning, we get fuck Don Callis chants, which become fuck Ice chants. The announcers are kind of just talking over it. They are not really acknowledging it. And then they kind of end quickly, but then they come back with a roar and we get fuck Don Callis, fuck Ice 2. Back and forth. So they not only took the chant, they wove it into an existing chant and some creativity. And what have I been saying forever? Please, some new chants, folks. I will take this. Not exactly the most novel of chants to reinvent the wheel with, but I'll take this over the singing chants, and this is awesome. Bravo to Denver here.
Good job, Denver. Yeah. I was actually just beginning to think, because at this point we expect the fuck Ice chants, right? They were starting to feel a little predictable and pedestrian and kind of losing their punch. But then they do the whole, call and response with the Don Callis chant and fuck Ice 2. I mean, I thought that was great. So we'll see how whatever next week if they're
El Paso, Texas.
Okay, interesting. Well, Brody King's on that show. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah, they're in El Paso next week, which is fairly close to the border. The week after is San Jose, and then there's a pay-per-view in LA. And LA should be pretty loud, I would think. So this match was nuts. So Davis's hand is wrapped, selling the effects of last week, and he sold it throughout the match. Like he would still throw punches, but he always sold the hand. These guys they suplex the hell out of each other. Brutal lariats back and forth. Brody almost lost him on a sidewalk slam. Like this was your ultimate meat match. Tope Suicida by Brody King. He just connected with Mark Davis. It was insane to watch this dude hit this suicide dive. Then there's a running cross body to Davis on a chair against the barricade. They continue to strike, and he chops the injured hand of Mark Davis, hits a pair of lariats, and wins in 10 minutes and 14 seconds. I thought this match was killer. I thought it was awesome. I was so captivated by these 10 minutes of these two dudes just killing one another for the duration here. Mark Davis has just been excellent this past 6 weeks.
He's been so consistent. I'm really sorry, Jake Doyle. I've really enjoyed the singles run of Mark Davis, and he's just been so consistent and so entertaining, and I think he's just found a really great spot for himself again as the bear of this company, having these sort of matches so consistently. And I thought he was paired perfectly with Brody King here, bringing out really the best in each other. Two guys who are massive and who can like move incredibly well and lift really, really heavy, just throwing each other around. I thought this was definitely one of the highlights of the entire show.
I know everyone's gonna love the main event, and I did too. Like it was tremendous, but I really enjoyed like this match a lot.
And the hand injury, like being continued from last week, I thought like
it was great. Like Mark Davis is almost in this Tomoaki Honma role, where I think if this guy finally gets a win, I think this crowd's going to get really behind him. Like he's just going to have these killer matches, but he always comes up short. So when they finally have him win, I think it's going to be a big deal to the fans. Like they might end up turning this guy. So Brody calls out Swerve, saying he is number one in violence and he is the most dangerous man in AEW. He wants a fight at Revolution. And Bandito's in the ring. He too wants a fight at Revolution, and it gets answered by Andrade, who comes out. So those are our latest matches for Revolution. Andrade Bandito, that could be a hell of a match on that pay-per-view.
Certainly, yeah. And,
maybe for the global heavyweight title by then.
I was going to say, could be.
It's possible, yes. So yeah, the pay-per-view is shaping up. Renee is with Kyle Fletcher and brings up Ciampa, who wants a rematch. But Kyle says, you came up short. You only held it for 2 weeks, and Sylvie is not going back. It's now Pinky.
I love it. I love it.
If they don't have a custom championship sold at every arena, they're out of their minds. Okay, this is a great licensing opportunity.
Would you buy a Pinky?
No, I would not buy a Pinky here. So yes. Okada walks in. He is so proud of Kyle. You and I have constantly been champions, unlike Takeshita. Kyle, you're my best friend. And he proposes that they team up on Collision as Proto-Okada. And Okada sounded as proud of this idea as AJ did of pointing out that he debuted and retired at the Royal Rumble on Monday. And they shake on it, and these two men are going to take on Top Flight. You've never seen a greater buildup for a Top Flight squash than these two together.
I love it. I love Proto-Okada already. I think Okada continues to be just really funny. He just hits exactly the note that you want this character to hit.
What is Okada going to do at Revolution, if anything?
Well, it could be Proto-Okada. Well, I guess they can't challenge for the tag titles.
I feel we're leaning towards another Fletcher Ciampa match. Okada, it almost feels too soon to do him and Takeshita again.
Yeah.
You did do, like, Kevin Knight did beat Okada in the Continental Classic. I don't know if that, if you're elevating Knight.
I think you could do some sort of Death Riders Don Callis family thing, can't you?
Well, that's the Collision special. I mean, we could do that every week, as we are going to. We're going to get another multi-man. So the whole Collision lineup they gave out during the main event, they got about 100 things announced for Saturday. And it's worth noting, this is one of the first times in a long time Collision is going head-to-head with the WWE PLE. It's airing Saturday night. It's not avoiding the head-to-head. So MJF will speak on the show. Okada and Fletcher, Proto-Okada, will take on Top Flight. Tony Storm against Zeta Steel. Tommaso Ciampa against Jay Lethal. Andrade against Tomohiro Ishii.
Amazing.
Should be quite the match. Claudio, Daniel Garcia, and Pac with Yuta against Josh Alexander, Lance Archer, Rocky Romero, and the returning Trent Beretta, who has not wrestled since November. Sisters of Sin against Chris Statlander and Thunder Rosa. The Brawling Birds in action, and we will also hear from Tekla on the show. So that is a lot for Saturday.
Yeah, they got a full deck, a pretty star-studded roster.
And now it is time for the Mile High Madness Anything Goes match with FTR, Ricochet, and GOA against Young Bucks, Zachary Wentz, Desmond Xavier, and Jack Perry. 19 minutes of insanity. And what we got at the beginning was a mini anarchy in the arena where Jack Perry makes his entrance while the 5 heels are already out. So they jump him 5-on-1, followed by the Bucks arriving on the scene, diving off the stage as Baltimore continues for, I would say, about 5 minutes. They continued to play this as they had like the 3 screens going. Dax and Matt went to fight at the bar. The music would end, and then when they restarted it, it got the big pop again when it restarted. They went through it several times before they finally ended the music, and this match was just totally nuts. I cannot go through everything here. Toa was about to throw Xavier off the stage when Myron Reed came out at the entrance with a fire extinguisher and sprayed Toa. Then he did the flame on to Toa into the ring and a diving senton that gets caught by FTR and he gets dumped onto the desk. So quite the run-in spot by Myron Reed for the 30 seconds that he was involved in this. Jack Perry pulls out the grossest vacuum cleaner you've ever seen. This thing is turning into like a Rascals backstage scene because the whole ringside area is covered in dust from this vacuum. This was just,
I mean, this felt like one of those vacuums that was for whatever reason cleaning up a lot of baby powder, say, for maximum effect.
You don't think this was like anthrax or anything?
Maybe not. That's the Texas Death Match.
Okay. Maybe. So the vacuum was utilized. The Bucks just annihilate Khan with trash can shots. Xavier did a shooting star press off the top to the floor on everyone. And they did this cool spot where the power and glory was delivered to Xavier, followed by a diving headbutt from Toa, and ended with a springboard 450 from Ricochet. And you're watching this from like the jib shot. So it looked really cool. Crowd applauds all of this. The Rascals put Ricochet through a table with a Spanish fly off the barricade. So we get the Maximo's version. And then super kicks delivered to Toa, and Perry power bombs Toa through a table on the floor. Then the Bucks just take Cash, launch him through the ropes, and the man dies going through a table. He's dead. Canadian Destroyer BTE trigger onto Ricochet and ends with a Jack Perry running knee strike, pinning Ricochet in 1857 as they are going to bring back this Ricochet Jack Perry. The third match that I don't think anyone's asking for, but we're going to get it.
Yeah, I'm cool with it because this match was so great. Like, I mean, as long as you give me the great setup,
maybe he'll use a vacuum cleaner in the match.
That should be the new match. Yeah.
I think he's got to win the title at this point at 3 times, unless they're doing the Sami Zayn deal, and he's got like 9 more losses ahead of him.
Well, he could beat him twice and then lose the actual challenge. I mean, that's not crazy, but I thought this match was amazing, and it'll likely be much better than I think the match that they're building to. I thought this was amazing. Like, this was it was essentially an Anarchy in the Arena minus the build, and really, like, yeah, maybe minus some of the crazier stunts, but like for a TV match, I think Dynamite is now 3 for 3 in, like, to me, TV match of the year contenders so far. And obviously we're still relatively early in the year, but between Ciampa and Fletcher, Swerve and Kenny, and then this match, this one out of nowhere. I mean,
is that all consecutive weeks too?
Yeah, like
That's
it's
wild.
telling you what like a standard of quality they are building for these main events. And this was, to me, the type of match that this crowd energy was so incredible and so much fun. This was like the type of match where you would have really regretted not going to the show if you had the opportunity to. These are the type of matches that provide that sort of like atmosphere that I think during like that first year was the calling card of this show. And you watch this and you can't help but want to be there for the next one if they, do another one of these, of course.
Yeah, this was just, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Like just 19 minutes, uninterrupted if you were, if you would have had picture-in-picture if you were on TBS as well. So overall, what did you feel about Dynamite overall?
It's an incredibly enjoyable show. Again, like, okay, if we're talking about the main thing, MJF and Page, I wasn't a fan of the segment, and that's more so because of the construction starting from last week until this week. So, it still feels like a big match, but I didn't think this week's real estate was used all that well. Other than that, what are we talking about here?
I mean, the low point was certainly the women's match. I mean, for obvious reasons. I mean, it was just the whole thing fell apart. But yeah, the main event was incredible. I thought Brody King and Mark Davis was tremendous. I think most shows that would be your match of the show, and
you got a lot announced for, or at least like leading to Revolution, and I'm sure more coming out of Collision as well. But we got Brody King and Swerve. We got Andrade and Bandito as well. So card shaping up.
Yes, yeah. We have 2 more Dynamites before the pay-per-view, so it is coming up very, very soon. But there you go. Those were all of our thoughts on tonight's edition of Dynamite, and they are taping Collision as we speak, so that will air Saturday night. It's going to be interesting to see, like, the Collision numbers since that Dash study were implemented by Nielsen. Like, Collision has been doing very good numbers. I think it's worth the shot. Like, all reasonably, you would assume that it's going to get killed get head-to-head with a PLE. But I would have thought that Collision was going to die against the Rumble, just even though it was not airing head-to-head that same day, and it did not. So I think you at least try it, and let's see. Like, if they get killed, they get killed. It wouldn't be a shock. But that Royal Rumble number, that showed the day of the Rumble, did an incredible number for them. So might not be a foregone conclusion.
There's also probably going to be a lot of downtime when you're watching the Chamber, and that might provide an opportunity for people to just flip back and forth.
It's a great point. Collision will it'll clock in at like 2 hours on the dot and get everything in that we just listed. And the WWE show will probably be double the time with 4 matches. So there's plenty of time to pause and flip back and forth. So yes, busy weekend coming up. We've got Rewind to SmackDown on Friday evening, and then Saturday I will be back with Wai Ting. We will be live right after Elimination Chamber here, live and free on the Post Wrestling YouTube channel. And final thing I want to mention is that on Thursday's book club, we're going to be joined by Ian Douglas. He's the author of A Decided Novelty. This is the Essential Guide to Black Pro Wrestling History from 1880 to 1950. And we've got Ian Douglas joining us on the show on Thursday. So you can look forward to that. It'll be for Double and Espresso members. That will be the interview and our full review. And next week, we are going to put out the interview with Ian Douglas for everybody to catch as well. It was a really great chat that we did with Ian. So you can catch all of that. And of course, folks, the whole week revolves around financial planning on the wellness policy as Wai Ting, Neil Flanagan, and Jordan Goodman, after a much-deserved vacation for Jordan and Neil, get back together with Wai Ting. We get a vacation update and then into financial health.
I really enjoyed this particular podcast. It's a topic I've wanted to do for a long time, and we happen to have an actual expert here, a financial consultant who also, tying to the theme of the network, also runs his own independent wrestling promotion based out of Vancouver. Boom Pro Wrestling's Max Mitchell was able to join us for the entire podcast, talking about, well, a lot of questions about financial health.
Okay, well, check that out, everybody. It's always a must listen with the wellness policy. We're going to say goodbye to everyone here on the Post Wrestling YouTube channel, but stick around on the Post Wrestling Cafe.